If you want to learn how to tan your own deer hide, this video will show you how. First thing you got to do is, obviously, you got to get your hide off of your deer. And I've just got this laid over this old chair that I can spray off. The first thing that I like to do, I like to give the hide a bath. So let's get this in here. I'll probably let this soak for 30 minutes or so. After that, you can pour out the water from your bucket and put your hide on a sawhorse. At least that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna let this drain for a little while. I'm back at the deer hide and I don't see any drippage, hardly at all, so that's what you want. Now I'll grab it and lay it out and I'll put some salt on it. Just get a whole thing of salt and I just take it around like this, cover it up. And you may end up going through 2 or 3 of these. Now for the second can of salt, or container of salt. I'm going to put a third container of salt on there. It's a little weak right here for the coverage, so got a little bit left in that third container. And this is what you want right here. You want to get all of your edges as best as you can. Let it set overnight. Come back and check it and see if it needs any more salt in the morning. Really, this is a several day process where you're letting this hide set like this. So now we're at day 2. You can kind of tell here how this looks. Needs a little bit more salt, especially around these edges. All right, we're on day 3. Looks pretty good. Right here looks a little weak. Put a little salt on here and cover that up. Get a little sprinkling right here and here. Now we're on day 6. Sometimes this happens day 5. You can see how this salt is sort of crystallized. The hide is a little pliable, a little bendy, a little pliable. But this is soaked up what it needs to. And I really don't like to cut off too much during the skinning process from the deer, because some of these little areas like this, they're just too slippery, and your knife, if you're using a sharp knife, can go right through that. takes a little time to get this off. The main thing is don't get in a huge rush. See how it's so scrapable now? And I'm not going to overdo it. What happens is this salt can sometimes make things too white. That can make it a little difficult to see properly. And we need to wash this again anyway. So we're just trimming off excess things like this that we know are easy to get to. But this isn't the final trim. You can pull it down like that. Just got to be real careful. You don't want to cut a hole in the hide. One of the advantages of giving this hide a final salt bath, that will give me an opportunity to sew the wound in the hide up. Now that I have it pretty well scraped, I'm going to go ahead and put it in a antibacterial warm water and salt mix. I always try to use some antibacterial soap or some antibacterial dish soap for this step. So now I'm just going to feed this into this bucket. This hide is a little bit stiff, but just perfect to do what we're doing. And I'm going to let this soak for about an hour, and I'll come back and hang it over the sawhorse and let it drain. Put a piece of cardboard right here over the sawhorse, and I'm going to finish letting this hide drip out. Now I can see the hide really well and finish trimming off any of this, I'll call it waste, that likes to attach itself to the skin. This, once it gets wet and it starts to dry, this will peel off. Just something good to know. Sometimes you can get a section going and peel it off. Take care of a pretty good section like that. And this is real slippery, but you can take a paper towel and really get a good grip on that and just pull that off of there. Get this in the trash. If you run into a wound hoe, what you can do is just sew it up while it's still flexible. And what we will do, I'll get some 12-pound fishing line and a small yarn needle and sew this up real quick. I had to go get another needle there real quick. Since I'm in about 3 threads here, I'm going to go ahead and start from the other side, and then I'll tie this up in the middle. So I'll just grab this, pinch it together, start from this end. Can we grab a hold of it? do 3 knots here as well. Okay, a couple stitches left here and this will be ready to dry. Make sure this is nice and clean coming through here. All this hair in that we can. Trying to make this look real good. And this is the final stitch. Push it through here as far as we can. And we want to hook it up with our other needle here that broke. Just try to keep that knot as clean as you can coming down through there. I like to use 3 knots. If you're not sure, it's not going to hurt to put another knot in there. And any excess here, we can cut that off. This is going to draw up. I'll go ahead and lay it flat. If you have a frame that you can stretch the hide, then that's great. But I'm going to lay this one down and let it dry overnight. So it's been inside all night, and now I'm going to let it dry for a few hours, and that'll save me probably a couple of days. Just lucky to have sun and wind here on a day above freezing. So once this does dry out for a few hours, I'll come back and get it, and I'll see you on the next step. So now the sun is starting to go down, and I'm back at the deer hide. And this is where I can choose to put my tanning solution on there immediately, or I can lay it flat and do that, or I can go ahead and hit some of these high places on the hide with a sanding block and maybe a 80 grit. You could use 100, but I would suggest at least a 80 grit sanding paper strip. For instance, an area like this, say you wanted to take it off or just lower it a little bit, you just kind of move around the hide here. I'll just go over to the other side now, see if there's anything that needs to be straightened up over here. And you can correct ever how you want as you go. Now that I have the hide the way I want it, I'm going to go ahead and put the tanning solution on there. At least the one that I like to use. And I'm just putting a light layer on here. And we'll spread this around and let it set overnight. Just doing a little bit at a time. make sure you're massaging it into the hide and let it do what it does best. Get the edges real well. And the good thing about this is you can tell where the tanning solution is going. It just colors the hide a little bit. And this is the shoulder here. I've decided to go ahead and tan that little piece right there. Well, I have the tanning solution rubbed in and it's setting in. So I'll take the deer hide inside overnight and show you tomorrow how it looks. As I'm walking up to this at the 24-hour mark, kind of get an idea. You can retouch some of the spots with sandpaper. And since this tanning solution has been on here for 24 hours, and also since I want to hang this hide up on a wall, I can go ahead and start pat drying this. Now, if I wanted to hang this over an end table or a coffee table, I may let this solution soak in for another day. Went ahead and put some cardboard down here. Lay the hide down on the cardboard flat and let it sit overnight. It's a sunny December morning, so I've got this back outside on the sawhorses. So I'm going to flip it up, let it dry a couple of hours. Then I'll feel a lot better about hanging this up on the wall. And I know it'll be a little bit stiffer, and I'll have a better result that way. And here I am about 4 or 5 hours later. This is a lot stiffer, and it's ready to finally hang up on the wall. In any areas like this that need to be trimmed, you can make sure you do that before you hang it up. And I can tell a lot easier where I may need to trim this thing. But you get the general idea. You can tan your own deer hide. Thanks for watching Make It Work Dan. And you can also go to makeitworkdan.com for more videos.